Welcome back to The Art of Hobbiness. I'm Erin, joined by my lovely co-host, Tam.
Hi!
So excited to be back again.
Yes!
And today we have an interesting topic. You found an article online that you sent me, and it was titled Millennial Hobby Energy.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, that's very interesting. Never heard that. That idea before.
Right.
So I kind of dived into it. It's a really good article. It was written by Anne Helen Petersen. And I did a little search on who that is, and somebody who, she's a writer, journalist, worked for BuzzFeed, but now she has this really cool platform called Culture Study. And that's where this article was. So she's got tons of cool articles about different cultural topics, right?
Yes.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about like what Millennial Hobby Energy is?
Yes. Okay. So you're right. I Googled,
Yeah.
found her. It was an amazing article.
Yes.
I think she's fantastic.
Yes.
So she does this whole article on what she calls Millennial Hobby Energy. And the definition of that is essentially it refers to the trend where ordinary hobbies with millennials, we dive in.
Yeah.
Like we fully encompass ourselves in hobbies, and it becomes our personality, right?
Yeah.
They expand, and we try to optimize on them, and sometimes we monetize them.
Yeah, or feel the pressure to.
Or
Yes.
feel the pressure
Yes.
to monetize them, right?
Yeah.
And so the article essentially talks about like the why behind that and what the results of that can look like and why it was created, right?
Yeah.
So I just thought that would be a really great topic for us to talk about on the show.
It's huge. I mean, it's very relevant we're very relatable for us and relevant to what we're talking about. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So again, just to say that, so it kind of starts off the article with just really kind of diving into that millennial hobby energy. So like, Anne kind of references, like for her, it was like with her dahlias. She started with a couple of flowers in her garden and then just went for it with like 500 of them in her garden because it just was exciting to have a creative outlet. And she just was like, it was almost kind of like a pendulum swing, right? Like you start off at one end where you're like in the corporate world and you're working so hard and you're doing all this and you don't have any creative space. So then when you start to swing to that other side of creativity and doing it just for the joy of it, you almost overcorrect by going fully to the other side of there and going right into it.
It's as if we have no idea how to slow down and just be bored.
What?
Like, it's not something...
We don't know how to slow down and just take a beat? I
don't know if that's a new concept to you all or if you can relate to that, but it is difficult.
Yes, it's called burnout.
Yeah, that's where we're all on the way to, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Like she talks about, which, we talk about part of this podcast was we were like, there's no way we're the only people that feel this way out there, right? And this is exactly what Anna's feeling. Is she's like, there's no way I'm the only person out there who was like, I just burned myself out in my work realm and in my, my society of culture of always being productive and then carry that over into my creative space almost because I just went hard and fast and was like right in it, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to just taking a little dip in the pool.
Totally.
Creativity.
And like, we don't think that this is just unique to millennials, but like we do have, the millennials have gone through different things that other generations. So I think every generation has their challenges with this and different, we've talked about maybe talking to other generations on their experiences. But I think for people within our age range, like, why are we like this?
Right. Well, and we always talk about how and I'm so glad you brought that up. Like, and Anne brings this up in her article too, where she talks about how like this millennial hobby energy isn't necessarily unique. Let me rephrase that. She says that a hobby crisis, I think this is a better way to describe it, is not unique to our generation. It's just our generation has its very own unique response to it called millennial hobby energy, which is what she's termed it, right, as millennial hobby energy. And, she says a lot of the reasons why she feels that we kind of were in there is because, we've faced recessions. We've faced COVID. We've faced 9/11.
Right.
We've faced student loan debt.
Right.
Just to name a few of the things.
We've been through a lot of turmoil in that regard economically and politically, and then that combined with the surgence of social media, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It came around right when, we were college age, and then, it just exploded, and this pressure to perform and be productive and put it out there and be perfect. So it was like the perfect storm to feeling even more pressure to hustle, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think it's just it makes sense why we're like the way we are, and it makes sense that now we're approaching our 40s that we're burnt out.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we even we kind of dabble a little bit into like the using her words, millennial hobby energy, in our monetization episode that we recently talked about, in which we were talking about how there's just all these pressures to really like take your hobby and just launch it into like a new business, right? Which may or not be great for you. But what I think has really got me thinking since this episode, or since this article I read, is she talks about how like this hobby crisis isn't unique to our generation. And I think the reason why we keep this geared towards millennial moms is because that's just our background. That's just that's our expertise. That's what we know. We live it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it really has me thinking like that I would be really curious to see what other generations' hobby crises looked like, because I agree. I don't think it's unique to us. I think we're just approaching it differently. I would be curious to know and dive more into the generations above us, like what it looked like for them and how their generations tackled this crisis. And is there a lesson that we can learn that maybe we can bring into our generation that we could use as a tool to overcome it?
Yeah.
Would you be totally okay with me like trying to find some guests who are maybe a little older, maybe a little younger, and being like, I just want to pick your brain?
Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, folks.
I think it's
Tam's gonna do some research.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think that's a really interesting way to take it for sure.
But so, going back to the article that Anne has, she also talks about how it's really important for us to use hobbies for our generation as like small, enjoyable things that make our life feel large.
Right.
I really like the wording on that because I think I've mentioned before that like I'm somebody who like oftentimes kind of struggles with trying to put to words how I'm feeling, and then when I hear the words, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
And I suddenly feel like I can take action on my feelings because now I know what the feeling is that I'm feeling. And when she put it like that, it's like, I want my life to feel large because of something I'm doing that's bringing me joy and just small, like by doing something small for myself.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I just really like that statement.
No, I love that. Yeah. I mean, we've talked many times now in our previous episodes about all the benefits that hobbies can bring to you for yourself when you're doing it truly for yourself and for the joy of it, right? And so it's just a testament to that and how you really have, like, as with this millennial hobby energy, you really need to tamp it down a little bit, rein it in a little bit, and bring it back to the root of what a hobby does for you, and just bringing that like creativity and that stress relief and fighting that perfectionism and just slowing down and appreciating the task at hand for what it is. You don't need to be like multitasking, doing all the things all the time. And it will really change the way you see the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, even Anne kind of says that like embracing hobbies in like a small way and taking a step at a time and really just enjoying the creativity is a very radical thought process for millennial women because or just millennials in general, according to her article, but it's because we're just so trained to be absolutely productive. We're so trained to be the best and the most perfect thing at everything. Like, where's perfectionism there? And it's, she talked about how, like, you use hobbies as almost like a resume builder.
Yeah.
Like, you don't do a hobby just because, or we didn't used to do hobbies just because of the joy of it. It was because, again, it needed to be something on a resume for college.
Right.
It needed to be something that made you more appealing.
Made you well-rounded.
You're not well-rounded enough unless you have this many hobbies, you know? Or it was something that, like, it's kind of like a status symbol. Because, like, even think about, I was talking to my husband a little bit about this. I was talking about how, like, our content killing hobbies episode and how it is very easy to go onto social media and find a trendy hobby.
Right.
And you see all this beautiful content being created for it, and you're like, oh, man, I really want to try that. I mean, like, the aesthetic alone is enough for me to be like, I'm in, right? But then you get into the hobby, and you're not really enjoying it for yourself.
Right.
You're just essentially trying to keep up with the Joneses on it.
You're trying to get that final product, right? Which is a really quick way to kill your joy for the hobby, as we have experienced.
Yes.
Because you don't see all the work that went into that, you know? Like people, I don't know what it is. We believe that we can just start these things and just be just as good as that person who's probably working on that craft for years. You
Absolutely.
know? And so I mean.
And we can't fight, and then we struggle to fight the urge to be immediately as good as that person, that it's got to be Instagram worthy, or it's not enough. Calling back to Erin's sourdough
again.
I will never let Starter Baby.
I think our listeners are sick of hearing about
I'll
sourdough.
never forget Starter Baby. I'm gonna have like a memorial. Starter Baby living in the background. But I mean, it just goes to show like just how like impactful that can be, and how our generation really just struggles to fight that.
Definitely.
So, but again, like I say all of this about our generation because it's relatable for me. It's where I can speak from. But I would be very interested to see what we'll take the millennial word out of it and just say hobby energy. What does hobby energy look like for the multiple generations?
I think that would be interesting,
because I think we'll find that the overall theme is hobbies have been like this.
I'm sure there's some
radical
they've been
solution
utilized in different ways for different generations for sure.
Absolutely.
It'd be interesting to hear. I think like just bringing it back to the topic at hand, some things that we have experienced, like that we have learned through this process, and some tips that we could share on like how to fight this thing that's been ingrained in us, this like need for all this energy to keep going, right? And I think one of it is like just try stuff just for you, and don't share it with anybody. Don't do it online at all, and just try to enjoy the process. Just pick a couple things you've been thinking. Most people have something that they've like wanted to try, and then challenge yourself to just do it for yourself.
Are you saying like do it like a little secret? Like are you saying like hide in your basement? Don't even tell your partner. It's your dirty little secret, and you're just gonna knit away, and then you're gonna show up with a hat. Is that what you're saying, or are you saying more of it like just be cool? just be cool and knit.
Just be cool and do it.
Got it.
Yeah, you don't need to.
I don't know. I feel like the hiding in the basement thing can be way more fun.
That was kind of weird.
You know me, I can't help it. I get awkward.
But no, I love it. So, and then also like the more you try things, as we've experienced, you get over that. It really helps break down the perfectionism and that need to produce. Like you're like, and then kind of starting to realize like, it's like if you start a book and you don't like it, just stop. Stop reading it and try something else. The more you exercise that muscle, the better you get at it.
You're right.
You get better at being imperfect. You don't care if your house is a mess anymore.
Well, yeah.
It translates to other places in your life.
It does. You're right. Because like if you get the opportunity to fail privately, you get comfortable with that feeling.
You do.
And then when you get comfortable with that feeling with yourself, you're not as afraid to do it in front of others, right? Because you already know that you're going to be okay, and that you're going to bounce back.
That's totally.
And they'll just try to do a scarf next time instead of a hat, because who knew everybody's heads were shaped differently.
You're going to be less anxious because of it, and you'll be on a podcast talking about how you have a dirty little secret in your basement, and not caring at all,
and everyone will just be okay with it.
So let's bring it back here.
I'm going to have to cut that part out.
I love it. All right, but seriously, it's a really interesting article. I feel like you should go read it. We can link it in this episode, right?
Yes.
It is really like, I don't know, I felt like it spoke to me, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, just helps me put into words what I'm feeling.
Yes,
Thanks,
it was great.
Anne.
Yes. And so, I hope that you enjoy this topic, and, it really just speaks to what we're talking about, and helping to break down some of these barriers and finding hobbies and happiness
just
in our next phase of life.
Yeah. Find something small that makes your life feel large.
Yeah.
Way to put it, Anne. I love it.
Yes.
Small, enjoyable.
That is beautiful.
Oh, well,
thank you.
Thank you. That was Anne.
Thank you.
If you want to give me credit for it.
We're talking to her like she's our friend already. So, Anne.
Yes. So thank you so much for listening to our show today, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks for listening to The Art of Hobbiness. Be sure to leave a review and rating. And for a little extra Erin and Tam fun, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Pinterest for behind-the-scenes footage of our journey to find hobbiness.